The clock on David Wilson's desk showed 9:47 p.m. Outside his corner office window, the city sparkled like a sea of tiny stars, but he barely noticed. The building around him had grown quiet hours ago. Most of his employees had rushed home to their families, their dinners, their real lives. David remained staring at his computer screen where endless emails demanded his attention. He rubbed his tired eyes and leaned back in his leather chair. The office felt bigger when it was empty like this. During the day, it buzzed with meetings, phone calls, and the constant rush of running a tech company. But now in the silence it felt like a prison. His phone sat silent on the desk. No calls, no messages, no birthday wishes. 45 years old today and nobody remembered. Not a single person. David's company, TechFlow Solutions, was drowning in problems. Their biggest product launch in 5 years was falling apart. The software had bugs that his team couldn't fix fast enough. Important clients were getting angry. The media was starting to ask uncomfortable questions. Every day brought new fires to put out, new problems to solve. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was coming home to an empty house every night. 6 months ago, his wife Linda had packed her bags and left. She didn't slam doors or throw things. She just sat him down one evening and said, "David, I feel like I'm married to a ghost. You're never really here even when you're here." He tried to argue. He tried to explain that he was building something important, that all the long hours would pay off eventually. But Linda just shook her head. "I've been waiting for eventually for 15 years, she had said. "I can't wait anymore." His kids, now grown up, had sided with their mother. His son Josh, 22 and fresh out of college, barely answered his texts. His daughter Amy, 19 and in her second year at university, had told him point blank that she was tired of having a father who only showed up for the big moments and missed everything in between. "You missed my school plays. Dad," Amy had said during their last awkward dinner together, "you missed my graduation speech. You missed Josh's baseball championships. You were always too busy or handling something important at work. Well, now we're too busy for you." Those words cut deeper than any business failure ever could. David's assistant had quit last week. Jennifer had been with him for 3 years, handling his schedule, remembering important dates, making sure he didn't completely lose touch with the human side of life. But even she got tired of working for someone who treated people like items on a to-do list. "I'm sorry, Mr. Wilson," she had said, clearing out her desk. "I need to work somewhere that feels more like a team and less like a machine." Now he had to remember his own meetings, his own appointments, his own birthday. The irony wasn't lost on him. He ran a company that made software to help people connect and communicate better, yet he had never felt more disconnected from everyone in his life. David walked to his window and looked down at the street below. People were walking hand in hand, heading to restaurants, laughing together. Cars pulled up to apartment buildings where families waited with warm dinners and stories about their days. He pressed his hand against the cool glass and tried to remember the last time he felt truly happy. Really genuinely happy. Not just satisfied with a successful deal or proud of hitting quarterly targets, but actually happy. It might have been Amy's 16th birthday party. Linda had planned everything perfectly, and for once, David had managed to clear his entire Saturday. No phone calls, no emails, no emergencies. He remembered sitting in their backyard, watching Amy laugh with her friends, feeling Linda's hand slip into his. "This is nice," Linda had whispered. "Having you here. Really here." He should have listened to the warning in her voice. He should have made more Saturdays like that one. But Monday came, and with it, another crisis that needed his immediate attention. There was always another crisis. His stomach growled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten since grabbing a protein bar around noon. The office kitchen was probably empty, but maybe he could find something. He walked down the hall, his footsteps echoing in the quiet building. The break room still smelled faintly of coffee and someone's leftover lunch. He opened the refrigerator and found it nearly empty except for some expired milk and a few containers with other people's names on them. In the freezer, there was a single frozen dinner that looked like it had been there for months. As he heated up the sad meal in the microwave, David wondered how his life had become so small. He used to have friends, people he would call just to chat. He used to have hobbies. He used to read books that weren't about business or productivity. He used to watch movies without checking his phone every 10 minutes. When had he become this person? When had success become his only measure of worth? The microwave beeped, startling him back to the present. He took his dinner back to his office and ate it mechanically, barely tasting the bland food. Through his window, he could see lights turning on in apartment buildings across the city, families gathering for dinner, kids getting help with homework, couples settling in to watch television together. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through his contacts. There had to be someone he could call, someone who might want to grab a drink or just talk. But as he looked at the names, he realized they were mostly business contacts, clients, or vendors. His old college friends had given up trying to maintain friendships with someone who was always canceling plans at the last minute. David set his phone down and leaned back in his chair. The building's cleaning crew would arrive soon, and then even their quiet conversations in the hallways would remind him that other people had connections, relationships, simple human interactions that he had somehow forgotten how to maintain. He thought about calling Linda, just to hear a familiar voice. But what would he say? Happy birthday to me? I finally realize what I've lost? It was too late for apologies that he had already tried and failed to make meaningful. The city lights blurred as tears filled his eyes. 45 years old, successful by every measure that mattered to him just a few hours ago, and he had never felt more alone. He had built an empire but lost his kingdom. He had gained the whole world but lost his soul. David Wilson, CEO of a company worth millions, sat alone in his office on his birthday, finally understanding the true cost of his success. David had been staring at the same email for 20 minutes when he heard the sound. It was faint at first, like a whisper carried on the air conditioning. He looked up from his computer screen and listened carefully. There it was again, a soft humming sound like someone singing quietly to themselves. He checked his watch. It was almost 11 p.m. The building should be empty except for security and the night cleaning crew. But this sounded different, lighter, younger. David saved his work and walked toward his office door. The hallway was dimly lit, with only every third light bulb turned on to save energy during the night shift. The humming was getting clearer now. It was definitely a child's voice, singing something that sounded like a lullaby. As he rounded the corner near the elevator bank, he saw her, a little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, was sitting cross-legged on the floor next to a cleaning cart. She had dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail and was wearing a bright yellow dress with tiny flowers on it. In her hands was a coloring book, and scattered around her were crayons in every color imaginable. She looked up when she heard his footsteps, and David found himself looking into the biggest, brightest brown eyes he had ever seen. "Oh," she said, scrambling to her feet. "I'm sorry, mister. I didn't know anyone else was here." David was so surprised he almost forgot how to speak. "It's okay," he managed. "I was just working late." "Are you lost? Do you need help finding someone?" The little girl shook her head and pointed toward the conference room at the end of the hall. Through the glass walls, David could see a woman in cleaning uniform wiping down the long table. "That's my mama," the girl said. "I'm Luna. I come with her sometimes when I don't have anywhere else to go." "Luna," David repeated. It was a pretty name. "That's a beautiful name." Luna smiled, and David noticed she was missing one of her front teeth. "Thank you. Mama says it means moon in Spanish. She picked it because I was born at night when the moon was really big and bright." David found himself smiling for the first time all day. "Your mama sounds very smart." "She is," Luna said with the absolute certainty that only children possess about their parents. "She knows everything. Well, almost everything. She doesn't know much about computers, but she knows about cleaning and cooking and fixing things and telling the best bedtime stories in the whole world." "What are you drawing?" David asked, genuinely curious. Luna held up her coloring book. "It's a castle with a princess and a dragon." "But the dragon isn't mean. He's nice and just wants to be friends with the princess, see?" She showed him the page where a pink castle sat under a purple sky. A dragon colored in bright green and blue was sitting next to a princess in a yellow dress, and they appeared to be having tea together. "That's beautiful," David said, and he meant it. "You're a very good artist." "Really?" Luna's face lit up. "Mama says so too, but sometimes grown-ups just say that to be nice." "I'm not just being nice," David assured her. "That dragon looks very friendly. I like how you made his eyes kind instead of scary." Luna beamed at the compliment. "Most people think dragons have to be mean, but I think they're probably just lonely. Maybe if someone was nice to them, they wouldn't be so angry all the time." Something about her words hit David right in the chest. Maybe if someone was nice to them, they wouldn't be so angry all the time. When was the last time someone had been truly nice to him? When was the last time he had been truly nice to someone else? Are you working really late? Luna asked, tilting her head to one side like a curious puppy. Yes, David said. Very late, that's too bad. Don't you have a family to go home to? The question was innocent, the way only a child's question could be, but it felt like a gentle punch to his stomach. No, David said quietly. Not really. Not anymore. Luna studied his face with the serious expression that children sometimes get when they sense that adults are sad. That makes me sad, she said simply. Everyone should have someone to go home to. Before David could respond, Luna's face suddenly brightened. Oh, I almost forgot. What day is today? Tuesday, David said automatically. No, I mean, what special day? Mama told me earlier, but I forgot for a minute. David looked confused. I don't understand, Luna giggled. It's somebody's birthday. There was cake in the break room earlier. The nice lady with the red hair said it was for someone who works on this floor. Was it your birthday? David felt his throat tighten. Yes, he whispered. It was my birthday. Luna's eyes went wide. Really? And you're here all by yourself? That's terrible. Nobody should be alone on their birthday. She looked genuinely upset by this information, as if David being alone on his birthday was one of the saddest things she had ever heard. It's okay, David said quickly. I'm used to working late. It's not a big deal. But Luna was already shaking her head. No. That's not okay at all. Wait right here. Before David could say anything, Luna had taken off running toward the break room, her small feet pattering quickly down the hallway. He could hear her calling out to her mother in Spanish, speaking so fast he couldn't understand the words even if he had known the language. A few minutes later, she came running back slightly out of breath and carrying something wrapped in a paper napkin. I saved you some cake, she announced proudly. The lady with the red hair said there was extra, so I asked if I could have a piece for later. I was saving it for when Mama and I got hungry, but birthdays are more important than regular hungry. She carefully unwrapped the napkin to reveal a small piece of chocolate cake with white frosting. It was a little smashed from her run down the hallway, and the frosting had gotten a bit messy, but to David, it looked like the most beautiful cake he had ever seen. I don't have a candle, Luna said apologetically, but you can still make a wish. Close your eyes really tight and think of something you want, more than anything else in the whole world. David looked down at this little girl who had just given him the kindness he hadn't received from anyone else all day. This child, who probably had very little in her life, had chosen to share what she had with a stranger simply because she thought no one should be alone on their birthday. Thank you, he said, and his voice came out rougher than he intended. This is the nicest thing anyone has done for me in a very long time. Luna smiled and handed him a plastic fork she had also brought from the break room. Make your wish first, then we can eat it together. I already had dinner, but there's always room for birthday cake. David closed his eyes and made a wish, but instead of wishing for business success or financial gains, he found himself wishing for something he hadn't thought about in years. He wished to remember what it felt like to be kind, to be the sort of person who would save cake for a stranger having a bad day. When he opened his eyes, Luna was watching him expectantly. Did you make a good wish? She asked. Yes, David said. The best wish I've made in a long time. And as they sat on the floor sharing cake, with Luna chattering about her day at school and her dreams of becoming a teacher someday, David realized that sometimes the most important moments in life come from the most unexpected places. The cake was the best thing David had tasted in months. It wasn't fancy or expensive, just simple chocolate cake with sweet white frosting, but every bite seemed to melt away some of the loneliness that had been building up inside him all day. Luna sat beside him on the floor, swinging her legs and talking between small bites of cake. She had insisted on sharing it properly, even though she had already eaten dinner. My teacher says sharing makes everything taste better, Luna explained, licking a bit of frosting off her plastic fork. I think she's right. Food tastes sad when you eat it all by yourself. David almost choked on his cake. How could a 7-year-old understand something that had taken him 45 years to learn? Your teacher sounds very wise, David managed to say. She is. Miss Rodriguez teaches us lots of important things. Not just math and reading, but about being kind to each other and helping people who need help. Luna paused thoughtfully. She says the most important lesson isn't in any book. It's about remembering that everyone is fighting some kind of battle we can't see. David stared at this little girl, amazed by her words. That's very true. Are you fighting a battle? Luna asked innocently. You look kind of sad even when you smile. The question hit David like a gentle punch to the heart. How could a child see through him so easily when grown-ups had stopped noticing years ago? Yes, David said quietly. I think I am. Luna nodded seriously. That's okay. Mama says everyone has battles sometimes. The important thing is not fighting them all alone. She took another small bite of cake. That's why I come with Mama to work sometimes, so she doesn't have to fight her battles alone. What kind of battles does your mama fight? David asked gently. Luna's face grew a little sad. Well, she has to work really hard to take care of us. She works here at night and then she goes to another job during the day at a restaurant. She gets really tired sometimes, but she says that's what mamas do for their babies. David felt a knot forming in his stomach. What about your papa? Papa went to heaven when I was little, Luna said, matter-of-factly. I don't remember him very much, but Mama says he was the kindest man in the world and that he loved me very much. She says he watches over us from the stars. David had to swallow hard to keep his emotions under control. This little girl and her mother were going through struggles he couldn't even imagine. Yet here was Luna, giving away her saved piece of cake to cheer up a stranger. I'm sorry about your papa, David said softly. Thank you, Luna said, but it's okay. Mama says being sad is normal, but staying sad forever isn't what Papa would want. He would want us to find reasons to be happy every day. She smiled brightly, like meeting new friends and sharing cake on birthdays. Just then they heard footsteps coming down the hallway. A woman's voice called out in Spanish and Luna jumped up. That's Mama. She's probably wondering where I went. Luna waved toward the voice. Estoy aquí, Mama. Hice un nuevo amigo. A moment later, a woman appeared around the corner. She was small and thin, with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, and kind eyes that looked tired but alert. She wore a simple cleaning uniform and carried a spray bottle and cloth in her hands. When she saw David sitting on the floor with her daughter, her eyes widened with concern. Luna, mija, what are you doing? I told you to stay in the conference room. She looked at David apologetically. I'm so sorry, sir. I hope she wasn't bothering you. Luna, ven acá. It's okay, David said quickly, getting to his feet. She wasn't bothering me at all. Actually, she was helping me. Today is my birthday and I was feeling a little lonely. Luna shared her cake with me. The woman looked surprised. Your birthday? Tonight? Yes, and Luna was kind enough to make sure I didn't spend it completely alone. David smiled at Luna, who beamed back at him. You have a very special daughter. Thank you, the woman said, and David could hear the pride in her voice. I'm Carmen Martinez, Luna's mother. I'm David Wilson. I work on this floor. David paused. Actually, I own the company. Carmen's expression changed immediately. She looked nervous, almost frightened. Oh, Mr. Wilson. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you. Luna, we should let Mr. Wilson get back to his work. Please don't apologize, David said quickly. And please don't leave because of me. Luna was just telling me about school and her teacher. She's a remarkable little girl. Carmen relaxed slightly, but David could see she was still uncomfortable. She talks to everyone. Sometimes I worry she's too trusting. In this case, her trust was well placed, David assured her. She brightened up what was turning into a very difficult day. Luna looked between her mother and David. Mama, Mr. David was all alone on his birthday. Isn't that the saddest thing you ever heard? Carmen's expression softened as she looked at David. Yes, mija, that is very sad. No one should be alone on their birthday. That's exactly what Luna said, David replied, and then she did something about it. They stood there for a moment in comfortable silence. David found himself studying Carmen's face. Like her daughter, she had kind eyes, but he could see the exhaustion there too. Her hands were rough from cleaning and her uniform, while clean, was worn thin in places. Luna mentioned that you work very hard, David said carefully. 2 jobs? Carmen nodded, looking a little embarrassed. Yes, sir. I clean here at night and I work at a restaurant during the day. It's what I need to do. That must be exhausting. It is, Carmen admitted. But Luna is worth it. She's everything to me. David looked at Luna, who was quietly collecting her crayons and putting them back in their box. He thought about his own children, how he had missed so many bedtime stories and school events because he was too busy working. Here was Carmen working twice as hard as he ever had, yet she still found time to bring her daughter with her, to make sure Luna never felt abandoned or forgotten. You're a good mother, David said quietly. Luna is lucky to have you. Carmen's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. That means a lot. Please call me David. Luna finished packing up her crayons and looked up at both adults. Are we friends now? All 3 of us? David felt his heart squeeze. When was the last time someone had wanted to be his friend just because they liked him? When was the last time friendship had been offered so freely, with no agenda or expectation of benefit? I would like that very much, David said, if it's okay with your mama. Carmen looked at her daughter's hopeful face and smiled. I think that would be very nice. Good. Luna clapped her hands together. Now you won't have to fight your battles all alone anymore, Mr. David. You'll have us. As David looked at this mother and daughter who had so little yet gave so freely, he felt something crack open inside his chest. For years he had been chasing success, thinking it would make him happy. He had sacrificed relationships for profit margins, traded family dinners for board meetings, exchanged love for achievement. But here in this quiet hallway sitting on the floor sharing cake with a 7-year-old girl whose family struggled to make ends meet, he had felt more genuine joy than he had experienced in years. Luna and Carmen had shown him something he had forgotten existed. Kindness without expectation, generosity without calculation, friendship without conditions. They had given him their time, their food, their warmth, simply because they saw someone who needed it. And in that moment, David realized that everything he thought he knew about success, about worth, about what mattered in life, had been completely wrong. David couldn't sleep that night. He kept thinking about Luna's words and the way Carmen's face had lit up when he called her a good mother. He kept remembering how it felt to sit on that office floor, sharing cake and conversation, feeling more connected to 2 strangers than he had to anyone in months. The next morning, David arrived at work earlier than usual, but for once it wasn't because of a crisis. He had a different kind of urgency driving him now. His first call was to the Human Resources Department. I need you to pull Carmen Martinez's employment file, he told Rebecca, the HR director. She works with the night cleaning crew. Is there a problem, Mr. Wilson? Rebecca sounded concerned. No problem. I want to review her compensation and benefits package. I think we need to make some adjustments. When David saw Carmen's file, his heart sank. She was making barely above minimum wage, had no health insurance through the company, and was classified as part-time despite working nearly 40 hours a week across different shifts. He called Rebecca back immediately. Carmen Martinez is getting a promotion, David announced. I want her moved to full-time facilities supervisor with complete benefits package, including health and dental insurance. And I want her salary doubled. Sir, that's quite a significant change. Don't you think we should discuss this with the facilities manager first? I am discussing it with you. Make it happen by the end of the week. David's next call was to the facilities manager, Tony Rodriguez. Tony, I want to talk about our cleaning staff. How many of them are in situations like Carmen Martinez? Tony was quiet for a moment. You mean working multiple jobs to make ends meet? Probably most of them, Mr. Wilson. The pay isn't great and benefits are limited for part-time workers. That changes now. I want you to review every employee in your department. Anyone working over 35 hours gets moved to full-time with benefits. And I want across-the-board pay increases. These people keep our building running. They should be able to afford to live. That's going to be expensive, sir. So is having a high turnover rate and employees who are too tired to do their best work because they're juggling 3 jobs. David replied, Take care of your people and they'll take care of us. But David's changes didn't stop with the cleaning staff. Luna's story about her mother working 2 jobs while raising a daughter alone had opened his eyes to something he had never really considered before. How many of his own employees might be struggling with similar challenges? At the next staff meeting, David announced something that shocked everyone in the room. "We're implementing a new company childcare program," he said. "Starting next month, we'll have an on-site daycare center for employees' children. Professional staff, full licensing, open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. His marketing director, Rachel Thompson, raised her hand. "That's a wonderful idea, Mr. Wilson, but the cost. The cost of supporting our employees' families is an investment in our company's future," David interrupted. "How many great people have we lost because they couldn't balance work and family responsibilities? How many more could we attract if we showed them that we understand they have lives outside this building?" He also announced flexible working arrangements, increased parental leave, and something he called family-first policies. "If your child has a school play or a soccer game, go," David told his employees. "If your parent is sick and needs care, be there. We can handle emails and meetings. We can't get back the moments that matter most." The changes weren't just about policies, though. David started changing how he worked, too. For the first time in years, he began leaving the office before 8 p.m. He started eating lunch in the company cafeteria instead of at his desk, talking to employees from different departments, learning their names and their stories. He discovered that Janet from accounting had been struggling to care for her elderly mother. He learned that Mike from IT had missed his son's graduation because of a server emergency. He found out that 3 people in marketing had been carpooling together for 2 years because they couldn't afford the parking fees. David fixed the parking situation immediately. He arranged for elder care support services. He made sure that no single employee would have to handle major emergencies alone. The biggest change came when Luna mentioned that her school needed volunteers for their reading program. "They want people to come read stories to the little kids," Luna explained during one of their evening conversations. David had started timing his late work to coincide with Carmen's cleaning schedule, just so he could see Luna and hear about her day. "That sounds wonderful," David said. "I bet you're a great reader." "I am. But the teacher says adults reading to kids is special too. It shows them that grown-ups think reading is important." Luna looked at him hopefully. "You could come read to us. You have a nice voice for stories." David hadn't read a children's book in years. He couldn't remember the last time he had been in an elementary school. But something about Luna's suggestion felt right. "What time does this reading program happen?" he asked. "Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 o'clock, right after lunch when everyone gets sleepy." David realized he would have to leave work in the middle of the afternoon twice a week. 6 months ago, the idea would have seemed impossible. Now it seemed like the most important meeting he could possibly have. "I think I'd like that very much," David told Luna. The first time David walked into Luna's classroom, 25 pairs of eyes stared at him with curiosity. He had chosen to read The Giving Tree, a story he remembered loving as a child but hadn't thought about in decades. As he read about the tree who gave everything to the boy she loved, David felt the words hitting him in a new way. He understood maybe for the first time that the tree's generosity wasn't weakness, it was strength. It was love in action. After he finished reading, a little boy raised his hand. "Mister, why did the tree keep giving everything away?" David thought carefully before answering. "Because sometimes when you love someone, making them happy makes you happy too." A little girl in pigtails added, "My mama says that's why she goes to work even when she's tired. Because taking care of me makes her happy." David nodded. "Your mama sounds very smart." The reading program became David's favorite part of the week. The children asked simple questions that had complex answers. They saw the world with fresh eyes. They reminded him of what Luna had taught him that first night. Kindness doesn't cost anything, but it's worth everything. Meanwhile, something unexpected was happening at TechFlow Solutions. The software problems that had been plaguing the company for months started getting resolved faster. Employee morale improved dramatically. People started staying late not because they had to, but because they wanted to help the team succeed. The product launch that had been David's biggest worry turned into one of the company's greatest successes. The software worked beautifully, the clients were thrilled, and the media coverage was overwhelmingly positive. But the real success wasn't in the numbers. It was in the email David received from Rachel in marketing. Mr. Wilson, I just wanted to thank you for the new policies. Yesterday I was able to attend my daughter's violin recital because I knew the team would cover for me. She played beautifully, and afterwards she said, "Mommy, I'm so glad you were there. I've been working here for 8 years, and yesterday was the first school event I didn't have to miss. Thank you for reminding us that we're people first, employees second." David printed that email and kept it on his desk, right next to a drawing Luna had made for him of a dragon and a princess sharing birthday cake under a starry sky. For the first time in years, David Wilson was learning that true success wasn't about what you could accumulate. It was about what you could give away. 1 year later, David stood in the company conference room, but it looked nothing like the sterile meeting space it used to be. Colorful streamers hung from the ceiling, balloons bobbed in every corner, and a beautiful birthday cake sat in the center of the table, decorated with 8 pink candles and a picture of a friendly dragon. Today was Luna's 8th birthday, and David had insisted on throwing her the party of her dreams. "Mr. David, this is the most beautiful party ever," Luna exclaimed as she ran into the room wearing a sparkly purple dress that Carmen had saved up to buy for months. Behind her came a stream of children from her school class, their eyes wide with wonder at the magical transformation of the office space. David smiled as he watched Luna's face light up. A year ago, he had been sitting alone in this same building, forgotten and miserable on his own birthday. Now, surrounded by children's laughter and joy, he realized he had never felt happier in his life. Carmen appeared in the doorway, carrying Luna's birthday crown, a glittery tiara they had made together in art class. She looked different, too. The exhaustion that used to weigh down her shoulders was gone. Her new position as facilities supervisor had not only doubled her salary but given her regular hours and benefits. For the first time since her husband's death, she only needed one job. "Thank you for this," Carmen whispered to David as they watched Luna show her friends around the decorated room. "You didn't have to do all this." "Yes, I did," David replied. "This little girl changed my life. The least I can do is make sure her birthday is unforgettable." It wasn't just the party that had changed, though. The whole company felt different now. The on-site daycare center was buzzing with activity, and several employees had brought their children to join Luna's celebration. The flexible work policies meant that parents could actually attend their kids' important events. The family-first culture had transformed TechFlow Solutions from a high-stress workplace into somewhere people actually wanted to be. The results spoke for themselves. Employee satisfaction was at an all-time high. Productivity had increased by 30%. The company had won 3 major awards for workplace excellence, and they were attracting the best talent in the industry. Turns out, when you treat people like human beings instead of machines, they do amazing work, but the most incredible change was personal. Just as Luna was about to blow out her candles, David heard familiar voices from the reception area. His heart jumped as his son Josh walked into the room, followed by his daughter Amy. They both looked nervous but hopeful. "Dad," Amy said quietly, "we heard there was a birthday party happening. We thought maybe we could join." David felt tears spring to his eyes. 6 months ago, he had started reaching out to his children again, not with demands or expectations, but with simple messages. Pictures of books he was reading to Luna's class, updates about the changes at work, apologies for all the times he had chosen business over family. It had taken time, but slowly, Josh and Amy had started responding. First with short replies, then longer conversations. They had coffee together a few weeks ago, and for the first time in years, David had listened more than he talked. "Of course you can join," David said, his voice thick with emotion. "Luna, I want you to meet my children." "Josh and Amy, this is Luna, the little girl I've told you so much about." Luna looked between David and his grown-up children with the serious expression she got when trying to figure out something important. "You're Mr. David's babies?" she asked Josh and Amy. Josh, who was 23 and worked at a marketing firm, burst out laughing. "I guess we are. That's wonderful." Luna clapped her hands together. "Mr. David talks about you all the time. He was very sad that he didn't get to watch you grow up properly. But I told him it's never too late to be a good daddy." Amy knelt down to Luna's level. "You're right. It's never too late. And thank you for taking such good care of our dad when he was feeling lonely." "That's what friends do," Luna said simply. "We take care of each other." As Luna made her birthday wish and blew out the candles, David noticed someone else standing quietly by the door. Linda, his ex-wife, had arrived. She looked different too, happier, more relaxed. Their divorce had been finalized months ago, but they had been working on becoming friends again, for the sake of their children. "I brought some of those cookies you used to love," Linda said to Amy and Josh. Then she looked at David. "The ones I used to make for your birthday parties when you were little." David remembered those birthday parties from when his kids were young. Simple celebrations at home with homemade cake and silly games. He had been so focused on building his business that he had stopped appreciating those precious moments. Now he understood that those simple celebrations had been worth more than all the money in the world. "Thank you," David told Linda, "for coming, for bringing the cookies, for raising our children to be such good people despite my mistakes." Linda smiled softly. "They got their good hearts from both of us, David. You just forgot yours for a while." The party was a beautiful chaos of children playing games, adults laughing together, and Luna holding court in the middle of it all, telling stories and making sure everyone felt included. David watched as his employees' children played with Luna's classmates, as Carmen chatted comfortably with Linda about parenting challenges, as Josh and Amy helped serve cake to the younger kids. This was what community looked like. This was what family could be when you opened your heart wide enough. Later, as the party was winding down and parents were collecting sleepy children, Luna found David sitting quietly in his office. "Mr. David, are you okay? You look like you're thinking very hard thoughts." David pulled Luna up onto his lap, something that had become their tradition during their evening talks. "I was just thinking about last year," David said. "When you found me alone on my birthday. Do you remember what you said about dragons?" Luna nodded seriously. "That they're probably just lonely, and if someone was nice to them, they wouldn't be so angry anymore." "You were right," David said. "I was like that angry dragon. I had forgotten how to be kind, how to let people care about me, but you and your mama showed me something I had lost." "What did we show you?" "That the best things in life aren't things at all. They're moments like this. People who care about you, the feeling you get when you make someone else happy." Luna was quiet for a moment, then she said, "Mama says that kindness is like planting seeds. You don't always see them grow right away, but if you keep planting them, someday you'll have a beautiful garden." David hugged Luna tight. "Your mama's very wise, and you, little one, planted the first seed in my garden." As David looked out his office window at the city lights, he thought about how much his life had changed. He still worked hard, but now he worked smart. He still cared about the company's success, but he measured that success differently. Profit margins mattered, but employee happiness mattered more. Growth was important, but growing as a human being was essential. His phone buzzed with a text from Josh. "Thanks for today, Dad. Luna is amazing. Same time next week for dinner?" Another text came from Amy. "I'm proud of who you're becoming, Dad. Love you." David smiled and put his phone away. Outside his window, the city sparkled just like it had a year ago. But everything was different now. He wasn't looking at those lights from a place of loneliness anymore. He was looking at them from a place of gratitude, because sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can change everything. Sometimes, a 7-year-old girl sharing her saved piece of cake can teach a successful businessman what success really means. Sometimes helping others is the only way to truly help yourself. Luna had saved him some cake that night, but really she had saved him from himself, and in return he had learned the most important lesson of his life, that true wealth isn't measured in what you accumulate, but in what you give away and the connections you make along the journey. The best birthday gift he had ever received was learning how to give.